With today's liturgy of Palm Sunday, the Holy Week has begun. Through our procession in front of the church and through listening to the Passion, being part of it actually, while reading it, we have the sense that something feels different. The Holy Week is about being de-centered, making Jesus as our reference point. That's why today, instead of the priest thought, I'd like to quote Pope Francis, just to illustrate this turning to a higher authority, to a higher wisdom. Let us pause on some words with which Jesus prayed to the Father during his Passion. The first invocation occurs after the Last Supper, when the Lord lifted up his eyes to heaven and said, "Father, the hour has come, glorify your Son." And then, "Glorify you me in your own presence with the glory which I had with you before the world was made." Jesus asks for glory. It is a request which seems a paradox, as his Passion is imminent. What glory is he referring to? In the Bible, glory refers to God's self-revelation. It is the distinctive sign of his saving presence among mankind. Now, Jesus is the one who definitely manifests God's presence and salvation. He does this in his Passion, and he does this at Easter. Lifted up on the cross, he is glorified. There on the cross, God finally reveals his glory. He removes the last veil and astonishes us as never before. Indeed, we discover that the glory of God is entirely love, pure, unbridled, and inconceivable love, beyond every limit and measure. Dear brothers and sisters, let us make Jesus' prayer our own. Let us ask the Father to remove the veil from our eyes, so that in looking at the crucifix over these days, we may understand that God is love. How often do we imagine him as master, as ruler, rather than a merciful Father? But in this Holy Week and at Easter, God voids the distances, revealing himself in the humility of a love that seeks our own love. On the threshold of the Easter festivities, let us give God glory when we live whatever we do with love. When we live whatever we do with love. The glory is the glory of love, because it is the only kind that gives life to the world. This glory is definitely the opposite of worldly glory, which comes from being admired, praised, acclaimed. When the I is at the center of attention. As we saw in Jesus' passion, the glory of God, on the other hand, is paradoxical. No applause, no audience. At the center is not the I, but rather the other. Indeed, in his passion, in his sufferings, and at Easter, we see that the Father glorifies the Son as the Son glorifies the Father. So let us ask ourselves today, which glory do I live for? Mine, ours, or God's? Our third thought. After the Last Supper, Jesus enters the Garden of Gethsemane, and here too he prays to the Father. While the disciples are unable to stay awake, and Judas is approaching with the soldiers, Jesus begins to feel distressed and troubled. He feels all the anguish at what awaits him: betrayal, contempt, suffering, a total failure. He is sorrowful, and there in the abyss, in that desolation, he addresses the Father with the most tender and gentle word, Abba, my sweet Father. Jesus teaches us to embrace the Father in our trials, because in praying to him, there is the strength to go forward in suffering. In times of struggle, prayer is relief, entrustment, comfort. Abandoned by all of us, in inner desolation, Jesus is not alone. He is with the Father. On the other hand, we, in our own Gethsemanes, often choose to remain alone rather than to say, Father, and entrust ourselves to him as Jesus did, entrusting ourselves to his will, which is our true God. But when we remain closed within ourselves during trials, we dig a tunnel inside ourselves, a painful, introverted path that has only one direction, ever deeper into ourselves. Solitude does not offer a way out. Prayer does, because it is relationship. It is entrustment. Jesus entrusts everything and all of himself to the Father, bringing to him all that he feels, leaning on him in the struggle. When we enter our own Gethsemanes, we each have our own Gethsemanes, or have had them, or will have them. Let us remember this. When we will enter our Gethsemane, let us remember to pray in this way: Father, my sweet Father. Last, Jesus addresses to the Father a third prayer for us. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Jesus prays for those who are cruel to him, for his killers. The Gospel points out that this prayer occurs at the moment of the crucifixion. it was probably the moment of sharpest pain, when nails were being driven into his wrists and feet. Here, at the peak of suffering, comes the pinnacle of love, forgiveness. Forgiveness, which is the gift of the power that breaks the cycle of evil. Forgiveness that breaks the cycle of evil in our own personal lives too. So, as we pray the Lord's Prayer in these days, we can ask for one of these graces: to live our days for the glory of God. To live our days for the glory of God, that is to live with love. To know how to entrust ourselves to the Father in times of trial and utter, "Dad, sweet Father," to Him. And in the encounter with the Father, to find forgiveness and the courage to forgive.